And coming up next on Keeping It 100 is the return of Al Snow.
Real quick, let me ask you a question. So Ohio Valley Wrestling, are you still affiliated with WWE or no?
No, we're not directly affiliated with WWE. We're not directly affiliated with anybody right now. We just, Danny Davis, who was the founder, he had OVW for probably nearly almost 30 years. We just did our 1,000th television episode back in October.
Really?
And, yeah. And
wow. How long is the show?
The show's an hour long.
When does it air? What time?
Every Wednesday we air it locally on the broadcast stations on Saturdays, and then we occasionally we'll stream it live. We'll do live specials. I've been doing live specials on our broadcast partner, and then also
you don't do Twitch?
No, I've done the like pay-per-views on Fight TV, the Fight TV app.
Oh yeah, okay.
And then we're developing our own channel with Pip and Share.
And so basically, this is a show that's seen locally, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And so, what do you see? Like, for example, because you started in the early '80s, correct?
Right, '82.
Right, like the biggest difference between like when you broke in and the style that we're seeing now.
Biggest difference I can see is there's no flow to the matches. If you go back and you just pick any match, you guys know, I don't need to explain to you. I mean, back when it was regional, every territory had its own style. Every promoter had their own vision, but everybody always sold the finish. Whatever territory you went in, everybody was still philosophically selling the same thing. Now if you went down south, there were kind of smaller, more athletic wrestlers in Crockett's territory, and then, in the Georgia territory, even into Florida a little bit, and they were faster. It was a little more action. If you went up north in the Northeast for Vince Sr., they were bigger, they were slower, more methodical. Went into Memphis. It was more brawling, punching, kicking.
Quick sidebar here. Kevin Sullivan did on one of the podcasts he did a great thing, a history lesson on the parts of the country and the style that they had.
Yeah.
Said West Coast was a lot of high flying because there was a lot of loose guys.
Right.
Said Georgia Championship Wrestling was a lot of hold, like the Andersons. Only a lot of holds, exchanging holds, a lot of brawling in Florida. A lot of brawling in Memphis, so like you had like you went into a territory and like, hey, this is kind of like the way we work here, But
the thing that changed style wise is that no matter what style that anybody went to work, you could sense a flow in the match. It was one continuous. It always worked towards the finish. If you pay attention now, the performers are like light switches. It's click. 1 second they're selling, click, now they're up, click, now they're selling. And it's gotten now to where it's become one guy A gets his stuff, then guy B stands up and gets his stuff, then guy A stands up and gets his stuff, then guy B stands up and gets his stuff, and then they start going into false finishes.
It's like a math equation, basically. It's a simplistic math.
And Konnan, when I started, I kind of worked some lucha stuff over for Dick the Bruiser's territory because he had, Mexican, had a huge Mexican population there.
I didn't know that.
And, remember it had its own style. It had its own flow. It had its own, and, the last time I went to Mexico City, well, I saw you there, went with TNA and was watching the matches. And it was literally, I'd watch the heels, the Rudos, working over the babyface, and they'd be in the babyface's corner, and the other babyfaces would not touch them, wouldn't go near them, wouldn't do anything until it was their turn. And then when it was their turn, they came in, did their spots, and then they would stop until it was their turn to do it again. And it was so obvious watching it that they were each just taking their turns to do their spots as opposed to truly trying to, work a crowd. And I think that term these days, guys, and maybe you can agree with me or not, but I think the term worker is getting misused.
Absolutely.
I think, there aren't many workers left, because the term to work an audience is to make them believe in what you're doing, to kind of, even if it's just for the time they're sitting there watching it, to believe they're watching a competitive match. And I think we got a lot of great performers. I think we have a ton of amazing athletes, but I don't think we have a lot of true workers, people that go out there and work the audience into believing that these guys are actually out there trying to win and not lose. You know what I mean?
You're absolutely right. And I think the problem today is like this is you see guys when they lay out their match and you go to any show, they're trying to fit 24 ounces into a 12-ounce can. Yeah. And so what happens when you do that? When you do have to get all your moves in, well, what do you not have time to do? Sell the moves. You lose all the stuff. You're giving all these false finishes. You're not saying it's just like, so it's gotten to the point where like, the concept of what a good match is and the concept of work has we lost our way. You know, like wrestlers today that you kind of see them like, because the fans are all, there's no more smart marks anymore because everybody's a smart mark because of all the information we have. Like you can go like, anybody knows it's just like I call it. We're in the day and age of the Holiday Inn Express wrestlers. Like, oh, can you work? No, I stayed at Holiday Inn Express last night. Or that's just like, yeah, of course I know how to work. So, but I think what happens is today is that these guys as they go out there and because all the fans know it's work, that the suspension disbelief has gotten in this weird place that the performers think they have to do stuff that actually does hurt for real in the match to get the people to think that like make them think like what like doing power bombs on the apron, doing buckle like they do these things.
Yeah, that kind of stuff makes no sense because nobody in the audience knows that the apron really hurts, and nobody in the audience knows the turnbuckle really hurts. Yeah. So why are you doing that?
Yeah, right. it's like so you see it all the time now. They're actually doing stuff that hurts for real, and I'm like. What? It's like it's like flipping like what the word work means, It's like I don't get it, man.
Here's kind of like the uneasy truth. Like that's the type of stuff we grew up with, but it's a whole different style now, and that's their style. You know what I'm saying? And then and if they did not decide to use some of the stuff that still gets over from our style, well, that's on them. But the people that do figure out, to take from the past and mix it with the present, those are the guys that are going to get ahead because there's a lot from the past that still works. And
there's a lot of guys out there that have such a tremendous potential and a tremendous upside to where they could really, if they were, they learned the art of truly working an audience, not just going out there and performing and, doing moves and taking bumps, but truly working an audience and working towards the biggest pop, truly getting people to pop their nut, not just make noise, but truly getting them to pop their nut. These guys with their athletic ability and which is just amazing. They could go become the next, God knows what, they could outshine, because that's what we need. We need a babyface that can truly get over. With with everybody, not just the wrestling fans, but with everybody. And we need somebody to be a genuine heel, not be afraid to get that baby face over, to be not afraid to be
disliked 24/7 by people.
Correct.
It's like, right, that's your job. Job is like just have people not like you and don't care that they don't like you. You don't actually relish in the fact they don't like you because you're doing your job very well. But
willing to be the antagonist in the story.
A lot of wrestlers grow up. You see this,
bro, and I've actually had a couple heels tell me that if I'm not friendly and I'm always in character, it hurts my T-shirt sales. And I'm like, in the long run, bro, you're gonna make more off of it because you're gonna be unique. You know what I'm saying? And when you do whatever you do in the future, you can command more money because there's a uniqueness about you.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll put you on the spot here for your for OVW. Give me a couple names of guys that you think you're going to plant your flag. I think these guys are going to be. You're going to hear more from these guys.
There's a pair of brothers called the Khans, the King's Ransom. They started out with D'Lo and Sin and Jake Roberts out in Las Vegas, and now they're.
Oh, they were out here.
Mm-hmm.
Because I teach at FSW sometimes, so. Yeah, I've been going there lately, but
there's a reason he didn't go to you. So yeah.
And then there's a kid from Trinidad. His name's Justin Smooth. He's got all the looks and the size and the ability. He's just got to figure out who he is and how best to portray it. And he could be money. That's for sure.
There's so many trainers here in Vegas now that when I used to teach class, I would do class, but I say I'm not gonna, I have no patience for teaching people how to do everything, So I would all I would teach was kicking, punching, and selling. Every class. That's it. Just and get people like. And if you go to the FSW guys, the guys I've taught, they all look like they can fight, and that was my whole point of trying to say, like, because too many you see wrestling today. You're trying to teach guys to throw a punch, and you ask them, "Have you been to fight?" How many guys say no?
Yeah,
It's crazy, isn't it? It's like it's Booker T. Like every trainer in America right now, that if you ask like, hey, we all have that problem. It's like we're trying to train for guys to simulate a fight, and some of them have never ever been a fight, or have a point of reference of what they're getting into.
It's a different generation. I mean, remember when we were kids, three of us,
tough guys.
All the guys that were all in the business at the time were, they were grown, grizzled, hard-looking men.
There were no twinks in the dressing room. No young cats whatsoever.
Yeah.
It was,
they all at some point they'd been in not just one fight, but they've been in numerous ones. You could tell the way they carried themselves.
And hard drinking, hard partying. I mean, that was a rough crowd.
Perfect example.
Compared to what's in the dressing room now, right?
Yeah. It's like, I mean, it's just a different generation because I'm not hating. That are playing video games and it's just not, you got these rough grizzled men that were former NFL players playing a video game.
Let me give you this. Here's the best example. There's like a Buff Bagwell who was like the antithesis of the professional wrestler back then because, they had all these rough grizzled guys, but he was the pretty boy, well manicured and everything. But Buff got more bar fights than anybody. You know what I'm saying? He was like Buff was actually like a tough guy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but now you got like all guys that like look like Buff, but they've never been in a fight. Now he's a professional wrestler. It's crazy, right?
I'm hopeful for the future. I'm hopeful for these younger generation that at some point, they'll do the same thing we went through, and that is, they'll start to kind of smart themselves up and go, this kind of hurts. Maybe if I start doing stuff this way and focusing on who I am more than I am what I do, then maybe and they'll realize they can make more money.
And you're watching that. Now I've got a prediction. Okay. It's because, I've been doing this for 26 years. Okay. So this window, and professional wrestling's been around for what? 80 or however many years it's been around, right? I look at this window that we're in right now, this 5 to 6 year window, and I just see the guys amping up the risk factor. They're risking, okay, I don't know what's going to happen is you're just going to see it. Because it's plain as day. They're risking too much. Guys are going to start getting hurt, serious injuries.
They are already.
Where they're done. And people are going to figure, hey, let's pull back. We don't really need to be doing, we don't need to be trying to kill ourselves out there. Let's go back. If you don't have to, why would you? And it's like, that's what we want to get wrestling back to. The work, where we're trying to make it look like it's as physical as possible, but it's really not because we're all good at making it look like that,
Well, a large part of that back in the day was dictated on the fact that, like when I broke in the business, we worked 7 days a week. You worked Monday through Sunday.
Yeah.
And then when, the next generation worked less because there were fewer territories to work. And then the next generation worked less because in order to make it ends meet, they had to work a job during the week, and they only wrestled on the weekends. Well, you only wrestle Saturday. Well, you got Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to heal up. So you kind of go a little harder. You know what I mean? You can you can throw a punch or a forearm and not complain because you got until next Saturday. But when you get punched Saturday night, and you know that if you're going to work with this guy again tomorrow night and he's going to punch you like that, and you're like, hey, wait a minute. That means he's going to punch me like that every night. And it ain't going to take me long to get tired of getting punched. Right. So, we need to learn to lighten up here, buddy, because if we don't, I ain't working with you because we're not going out there and we ain't doing this dance. You're not punching me in the face 7 nights a week.
Yeah, right.
Now, what do you got going on that you want to plug, Al?
Well, I've got, OVW. We're going to be building things up there. And we got the school up and running. And I'm going to have a really big announcement, game changer as far as schools are concerned here soon. And then Collar and Elbow. It's my wrestling brand. Joe's got the hat on, and, Disco's got the shirt, one of the shirts on, and
I'm waiting on mine.
And give me your address. Hey, seriously, when we go off the air, give me your address, or have Joe text it to me, and I'll send you stuff. So I'll get it to you.
Right.
And absolutely, and
Disco really puts it over, right, Di?
Yeah, I've been putting him over since I got him in the mail. 100%. I've told everybody that'll listen. These are great shirts.
Well, and we try to make designs that if you're not a wrestling fan, they just look like a cool shirt.
Exactly.
If you are a wrestling fan, you get it, you understand what it is, and you like it, and it represents something about the business that you like. And because come down, at the end of the day, all of us, we're all just fans of wrestling. And I thought, I want to make something that kind of represents that. And, so you don't have to, if you're a wrestling fan, you don't have to wear Shawn Michaels' face on your shirt and feel like, a little weird that you got a guy's face on your shirt.
Right.
Disco
still does that, though.
Al, we talked about this the other day. The WWE, when was the last time they had a good looking shirt? I go, so now all of a sudden the Bullet Club shirts come out and they look cool. So what happens? Everybody buys them. That's all you got to have is something that if a shirt looks cool, people will wear it. They don't even have to be fans. They can maybe watch the show one time.
We try to use the shirts that, you purposely will dig through your drawer to get that shirt because it's that comfortable. It's that nice too, as well. So, we use really high quality material shirts to put them on. So we just don't use just cheap old shirts.
Yeah.
So
I'm not lying. Anybody that's listening to this, when you put on a collar and elbow shirt, they do not feel, and if you bought a lot of merchandise from any sports, any type of merchandise, like a team sports or anything, these shirts are easily the most comfortable ones you will ever try it on. 100%.
So go to collarandelbowbrand.com, and when you go there, you can use the code Snowman, and you take 10% off your purchase. And then if you and if you guys want a code for the podcast, you can, we'll give you a code for the podcast, and
cool.
And you guys will get a kickback for every code. Everybody that uses a code, they get a 10% discount, and then fans can round up their purchase for every. We give them the opportunity to round up their purchase, and all that money goes to Cauliflower Alley Club to help them with their charitable endeavors. So last year, I think we gave a couple $1,000s to Cauliflower Alley Club to help them out. So, it's for wrestling fans, and it's for the wrestlers, and, because we're all just fans of wrestling. So,
well, I just want to say, Al, I love the moniker Snowman. That's number one.
Thank you.
Two, I want to thank you very much for being on the show. We need to get you back on for a part 2. And,
I loved it.
And thank you for being on Keeping It 100. Boom.